I am Riley Chow, and I'm here with Kevin Jacobsen, Tom O'Brien, and Joyce Eng, and we are from Gold Derby, and we are going to be recapping the third night of the 72nd Primetime Emmy Awards. Now, last night's panel was probably funnier, Monday's was better dressed, tomorrow's panel will probably be sleepier since Luca is joining us from outside Frankfurt, where it will be about 3:30 a.m. But today's panel is the one that you really got to watch if you want to do well in your predictions. I've told Joyce before that, even when I don't have the same predictions as her, I always understand where she is coming from. I told Kevin a few weeks ago that I really admire his predictions because if you look at them, you can tell that he is not paying attention to the consensus at all. All of his predictions are based on original thinking, and maybe he's arriving at some of the same conclusions, maybe not. And Tom O'Brien is our resident Emmy voter from the writers branch. Yes. So these people will have some interesting things to say. So Joyce, first of all, what does the editing win for Succession that we got tonight mean?
Well, I'm very happy that it won because I'm a Succession stan. But it's not like, I think obviously it helps because if you win anything, it helps. But the last couple years, the editing winner hasn't won really drama series or since Stranger Things. And Handmaids, yeah, right. Because last year Game of Thrones won. So it's a pretty good bellwether of sorts. If you go further back, but that I think if you're already predicting Succession to win drama series, then you probably feel better about it, especially since Ozark didn't win anything tonight. And Succession it's not a tech heavy show, so it doesn't have a lot of tech nominations. So this and casting tomorrow are like the big ones for it. I'm not that surprised it didn't win production design because I also don't think that was the right episode for it to submit. It's been at the finale on the yacht. I think there were some better episodes in the season it could have submitted. And Handmaid's Tale has won that 4 years in a row now. So I don't think you should be upset since it didn't win that either. But yeah, Succession winning that is good for it. So especially with Ozark not winning anything.
I actually kind of couldn't believe that they went back to The Handmaid's Tale in production design for a fourth time.
It's weird because in some categories they just kept picking the same winners, and then in some other ones there were sort of surprises or new winners or different winners.
Yeah, I was encouraged by the Art Directors Guild because they went in a different direction finally this year, but the Emmys once again just returned to the same well as we saw so often the last couple nights especially. Kevin, what are your hot takes?
Well, I don't know how much creative arts really means in general for the main show, so I would just, as a blanket statement, just warn people to not read too much into things because that's sort of what I did in 2017 when Stranger Things won a bunch of Emmys, including casting, and I'm like, well, it's totally going to win drama series now, and then it won nothing on the main show. And so
we also predict Millie Bobby Brown.
Perhaps. We don't have to talk about it, but yes, so that's what I slightly worry about, reading too much into things. Having said that, I do think the Succession win for editing is a good sign. It did win against another episode, so it didn't run into any vote splitting there. It beat very tech heavy shows like The Mandalorian, which had 3 episodes but still easily could have won that, just like it won 5 other awards tonight. But yeah, I think Succession remains the front runner, and this kind of confirms that it is the front runner, that it did win editing. So looking forward to seeing if something happens tomorrow with casting. There's The Crown is having a whole new cast there for season 3. Who knows if that will throw a wrench into things there. But I was just excited overall, just speaking to the night itself in terms of Blackish finally winning its first award after 6 seasons.
Thank God.
Yeah, and that was actually a case of they actually deserved it, and I didn't know if they were going to actually watch the episodes, but the episode is called Hair Day. It's a big
because it has hair in the title.
But like, you know, a big showcase for Black hair. And you know, after the past 2 nights of Emmys, I was a little bit worried that, you know, the influx of Black nominees, despite the fact that it didn't end up winning like much of anything these past few nights, you know, in terms of newer, exciting choices, that I was afraid that it just might be like, well, it's just going to be Schitt's Creek. But they did that. I was very surprised by Vikings winning supporting visual effects just after like 6 years. That's kind of out of nowhere, but love to see it. You know, lots of mixed messages from tonight, but just excited to see new and old being embraced here.
Yeah, it kind of says, you know, never give up. I mean, I interviewed that Vikings visual effects supervisor 6 years ago, and now finally here he is winning his Emmy. Blackish is on the board finally after all these years, unlike, you know, The Good Place and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And yeah, I wonder if we will see more diverse winners these next few days. I mean, they could have gone with Schitt's Creek. It finally won the Canadian Screen Award for hairstyling this year. Plus, it's a series frontrunner, so I feel like there was, you know, an opportunity for it to win there. We saw them go with Blackish instead. Tom, how are you feeling about drama or anything else?
I'm thrilled with the Succession Emmy, the editing win. You know, the big numbers are Mandalorian, which I think all expected, and Watchmen. You know, the one thing that I really was tickled with was the win for One Day at a Time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it won before Schitt's Creek. What a twist!
Yeah, I know. Again, I thought the show on the whole was good. You know, it was very nice to have it so clean. And I know that you've talked about the in memoriam sections on previous episodes, but I was particularly struck by it.
Yeah, I found tonight a bit more enjoyable, I think because of the presenters, like Rose Byrne and Bobby Cannavale, whatever they were doing, that was entertaining.
Love it.
I was confused by how Jeffrey Dean Morgan's wife was always behind him, but that, you know, kept me interested. I was wondering, where was Greg Middleton? Kevin, I think you interviewed him.
I did.
And yeah, I've met him, you know, fellow Canadian, and he was not there to accept his award virtually.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. I mean, speaking of awards, I watched our Dorian Awards from Gallica, and he accepted there. And so I'm like, okay, I was sort of expecting him. But yeah, I don't really understand some of the no-show winner accepted speeches. Maybe people just feel awkward with the fact that they have to be pre-recorded and pretend like they just won, but I can't explain it.
Yeah, some other notes I have are that the editing clips I thought were particularly bad after the Giancarlo Esposito segments were so good, how they actually showcased editing, whereas it seemed like most of the editing clips were actually long takes with no cutting.
Right. Yeah, the Succession one was just one take. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
Where's the cut?
The sound clips were great, though. Those were all very loud and not dialogue heavy. I also noticed that the announcer said quite a few names incorrectly, and sometimes even episode titles. So don't follow the announcer if you want to know how to say somebody's name, I guess. And finally, since, you know, they keep replaying all these clips, I want to say that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he thinks that writers are below the line. And Tom, you know, as you know, that is not the case. You are above.
That.
And he also thinks that there is more than one line, since he says that he is below the lines. So I don't know.
Listen, he's transitioning in a complete field, so.
But I thought his segment was very good.
Yeah, some of the packages were well done. It's just, I mean, I wish like every award show were just like this, like 50 minutes in and out.
Yeah.
And, like some of their comedic bits, and Nicole Byer was, great again. She wore a dress again. Even though like her fake award things, like that was kind of, I could live without it, but I was like, fine. It was like a nice little breather between categories.
And Laverne Cox really dressed to the nines.
She always does.
And she was very just like confident and very like comfortable in front of the camera, which I loved because some people clearly were not.
I'm trying to get better.
It's a work in progress for us all.
So true.
Any other wins that you want to talk about? The Mandalorian obviously started its sweep. I said that I was predicting it for 6, but I actually forgot about Taika, so it still has 2 more, I think, that it's going to be winning.
Yeah, I think, it's kind of like the new Game of Thrones-ish, like it's just going to dominate these crafts, and it's lucky that it's half an hour because it goes up against these comedies. But if you notice, when it had to compete against actual 1-hour-long dramas, it lost 3 of those categories. So, and obviously it's very easy for it, being loud, action-packed drama to beat these comedies, single camera, multicam. So I don't know if you could like read too much into its wins, that it topped the night with 5. It's like great for it. Congratulations. And, well deserved too, but you have to look at it in context, like what was it up against? And it only won 1 category against other actual dramas, which was special effects.
Yeah, and this is going to be its strong suit this week. Sunday, I think we won't hear that name, but good for them.
I hope not.
Wow. Shots fired.
Gabriel says
Tell us how you
Maisel flopped. They did win 1 award. Let's say, Joyce, how are you feeling about how Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is doing this year after cleaning up the last couple?
It won makeup, right? Tonight. There's still like tomorrow night, so it could win more. So I don't know. We'll see after tomorrow night if it increases that tally. Maybe 8 might not happen this year, like the past few years. But again, it's a craft heavy show, so you expect it to win these awards more so than the other frontrunner, Schitt's Creek. So I don't know if like who was really that surprised that it won makeup again. I don't know. I guess some people maybe thought like they're over Maisel and it's not going to win anything, but I don't think it's surprising that it could still pull out a win or 2 at Creative Arts.
Anything to add, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I will say watching the clips did actually sort of help me in a few cases of like maybe I should have like watched some of these things before necessarily predicting them, because then like once I saw it I'm like, oh well, obviously that's going to win. But like with Maisel, I mean, I'm just looking at some of those clips and looking at like the period costumes there, I'm like, that's so lavish and beautiful, and like obviously The Crown won that again, but I'm like, yeah, that could have been an easy win for them and didn't happen. I have sort of trended more towards the idea that Maisel will sort of become more of like the Handmaid's Tale season 2 sort of situation of like, it has all these nominations, but maybe the passion isn't quite there anymore. Maybe it can pick up 1 or 2 wins. I sort of think its peak is behind it, is sort of what I'm saying. I don't think it can continue with like winning 8 every single year at this point.
And like both of them broke out, first season with all these wins and series wins. Right. So it's kind of like they probably have hit their peak, so there's nowhere really else to go but down, unfortunately. Yeah. Not to say that either of them are like awful and doesn't deserve wins, but it's just you peaked already.
And there are newer, fresher kids on the block.
And Watchmen, on the other hand, they were able to win, a bunch of awards, able to overcome vote splitting. Obviously, they are going to be winning the limited series award later, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do wonder, will it be able to overcome vote splitting in categories like directing and supporting actor? Kevin, I know you have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and I imagine you're feeling more confident about that after his episode won editing over the writing nominee and the pilot. And Joyce, you've got Titus Burgess for some reason, so we'll have to check in on that. And Tom, I actually don't know who you have, so
I've got Louis Gossett Jr.
Okay, so how are you feeling about that prediction?
If he wins.
If sorry?
It'll be a moment, a good Emmy moment if he wins.
All right, and Kevin, how are you feeling about that?
I am feeling more confident now. I know it's different branches, but still, I think it speaks to the idea that the voters are actually watching the entirety of Watchmen and not just the first few episodes like we sort of assume that people do with limited series. So the fact that
America, especially, I would say.
Well, yes, but A God Walks Into a Bar, I think, certainly had very showy editing, but I also thought This Extraordinary Being had very, very showy editing with switching Regina King and Giovanna Depo out several times, and there's so many showcases there. But the fact that it could win for that big showcase for him bodes very well, I think. I think he's going to have... I just feel like there's a bit more of an underdog sort of like discovery factor with Yahya that sometimes works out, especially lately with the Emmys, of sort of younger, newer stars that we're discovering. We want to reward them the first time for the Emmys.
And Joyce, I said earlier that I always understand where you're coming from, but it seems that I was exaggerating.
Well, I have Titus right now as a placeholder mostly just because I couldn't decide between any of the Watchmen guys, even though I am leaning towards Yahya. So I'll probably change him, especially after tonight, since it's shown that it can overcome vote splitting, even though, like Kevin said, it's different branches. I was just hesitant about picking him right off the bat after nominations, because typically in cases of co-star nominees, if they overcome vote splitting, there's one obvious choice. In that category, it was Sterling K. Brown over David Schwimmer and John Travolta. He was the breakout. Everyone's talking about him that year. And same thing with him against Milo and Drama Actor the next year. He was the obvious consensus choice. So I don't, taking nothing away from Yahya, I didn't really feel like it was just kind of all the buzz was about him specifically, because it's still the Regina King show. I think it would help if he were a lead, but and that episode is great for him, and it helps that Louis and Jovan don't they have smaller parts basically. So I basically had Titus in there just as a placeholder, but I'm curious to see what happens in directing now, because I still have the pilot there, just because I feel not just because of the DGA win, but it's the opening sequence. I feel that alone could push it over to a win. But This Extraordinary Being, I think, is the better directed and more ambitious episode. But we've seen in various directing categories over the years, the ambitious episode lose. But I do think Watchmen can win. So now I'm just torn between which one it will win for directing.
I'm still stunned that Tim Blake Nelson wasn't nominated.
I know.
Yeah. They all benefit from him not being here, because he would be winning if he was. Just like Tom Pelphrey. I don't know what happened with these supporting actor categories.
What's going on with the Emmys? Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to previewing tomorrow night's ceremony, unless anyone has any final thoughts on tonight.
Well, I would just want to mention one of the speeches because like we don't always have great speeches with these things, but I did take note of one at least, which was the Star Trek Picard one, which they mentioned that there were no women in the category and that they wanted to show that they stood for women as well. So I'm glad they had that little shout out, and they mentioned like something with the Emmy rule basically screwed them over. So I don't know. That was a nice moment, I guess.
Can you expand on that? Mine actually froze when they were saying that.
Yeah, it froze on mine. I think it froze completely for everyone.
They didn't really like explain too much. They just said like because of a rule change, which I mean I don't know what it was. That like I think it's like their female coworkers were not eligible to be nominated. I think that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
So, and then they said like we stand with women.
Okay. So tomorrow we've got the short form categories. Kevin, you have actually seen pretty much all the short form nominees, as have I. So I'm not assuming that the voters have necessarily watched any of them, but what are you thinking about those categories?
I am thinking that there's a possibility that the two people who are not from Quibi will win the acting races, because I
Really?
sort of see this random, because I mean, I did watch, like you said, all of these acting things here. I didn't watch all of the actual series, but I watched all the acting shows here. But I thought Mamoudou Athie was fantastic in Oh Jerome No. So I think if they actually do watch it, that is a very clear choice, in my opinion. Rain Valdez, maybe Lawrence Fishburne. I could definitely see that. He's certainly
he's so good.
a veteran, and yeah, definitely the highlight of that show. I don't know if vote splitting will matter for that with Steva James, but I don't know. With Rain Valdez, she's the only other trans actress that's nominated this year alongside Laverne Cox. And so I'm hoping that the both of them can take down Quibi together.
Wow. Harsh.
What do you have against Quibi?
Yeah.
Nothing. I just think it would be funny.
Rain Valdez is also the only other East Asian nominee aside from Sandra Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right.
And I'm actually going with Jasmine Cephas Jones. I feel like her subject matter is more timely, and I feel like people will respond to the Cephas Jones name. If they watch submissions,
Yeah.
sorry,
you think her dad's coming back to you again?
I do. Yeah.
And a lot of voters might have seen her. There she is. I'll vote for her.
Yeah, I think we lost you for a second there, but I think you're saying in Hamilton.
Yeah, I think that she, a lot of people saw her there, and she's now a much more familiar name.
Yeah, where they might not actually see her is in her episode submission. She inexplicably submitted perhaps the worst Emmy submission in Emmy history. We've been told that she submitted a certain episode, and if you watch that episode, she is only present in one scene in which she says 3 words and then she sits down. So that could be an Emmy-winning tape. In the short form actor category, I've got Christoph Waltz. He is obviously he's a 2-time Oscar winner, and he's also the only white guy in the category. So that's where I'm going. And then in the series category, I'm thinking that Better Call Saul will win that one again for its employee training.
My friend came up with that idea. He works at AMC, so he doesn't get an Emmy. He didn't win the first time, but it could be a 2-time Emmy-winning show because of his idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Kevin, how do you feel about that category?
I definitely wonder if like it's just going to be a default to one of the series they know and love. I mean, ironically, we have something like Better Call Saul, which they've never awarded, something like The Good Place, which they've never rewarded. So I don't know. I sort of am defaulting to the Better Call Saul one just because it's very easily and digestible, and you can just like watch it in an hour and you're in and out. And I feel like they could just see it and look at the title and be like, that sounds fun, and just check that.
It's funny because like most of the nominees are like brands, you know, because it's like Star Trek, The Good Place, Better Call Saul, and like Reno 911.
Yeah.
So the only like new thing is the Quibi Show.
Yeah.
And we don't know how they would feel about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope it's Reno 911. Tom, have you watched any of these ones?
I have not, actually, and I didn't vote in those categories. So, but that doesn't keep me from having opinions.
Mhm.
But I think Better Call Saul is probably the heftiest of those brand nominees, and I'm going to go with that too.
And Tom, do you feel like sharing any of your Emmy votes?
Yeah. So I have to be very careful about this. For writing, well, like I vote for program and I vote for writing. And for writing for a comedy, I voted for Happy Ending from Schitt's Creek. And then I voted for the season finale of Succession in drama. And
Well
I
done.
think they'll both win, which
Yeah.
is rare for me. Yeah, and then I can also do program, and so I did vote for Schitt's Creek and Succession, and actually vote for Mrs. America.
Mm.
You know, which I think has gotten kind of the short end of the stick this year.
It has indeed.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it'll win anything.
Probably not. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I mean, I think Kate Blanchett is probably the best chance, but against Regina, I don't think so.
I've got Blanchett in 4th, but I am predicting Uzo Aduba.
Oh, I have it in 2nd. I don't know supporting actress either.
Yeah.
Because I have Jean Smart there. Yeah, I don't know.
To my mind, at least in terms of I thought that Shirley, which is the main episode that Uzo Aduba is in, is probably the best of the series.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let's look at some other categories tomorrow. We've got the casting categories. Those traditionally just go to the series that go on to win the series awards. Joyce, do you feel like that'll be the case this year?
Probably. I think Succession will probably win drama. But I could also see The Crown winning that just because, like Kevin said before, you know, new cast and everything. And it won that 2 years ago. And yeah, comedy. Yeah, I think it'll probably be Schitt's Creek, but I'm less certain about that than I am about drama. Because like, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say they did cast Victor Garber this year. So
yeah, lots of famous Canadians.
Kevin or Tom, how do you feel about the casting awards?
Well, go ahead, Tom.
I totally agree with Joyce. I think it's going to be those two, because I can't, except for The Crown. The Crown could come through because it is an entirely new cast, and the other two Succession, this is its 2nd season, and they have some really terrific guest stars in it. But I suspect that's tough. I think Succession will win.
Yeah, I mean they did get Cherry Jones and Holly Hunter and Jeannie Berlin, lots of great guest stars. But Yeah, I think it's going to be the three front runners here, and if it's not Schitt's Creek and Watchmen, then I would definitely watch out in both of those cases because something has gone wrong.
I mean, I could see like Maisel winning it again. That's not out of the realm of possibility. But I think it'll be Schitt's Creek.
I would not count out Ozark quite yet. I still feel that there is some hope, particularly because I feel like Ozark would have suffered or was more prone to suffer from vote splitting in the editing category today than Succession. It's not looking good for Ozark at this point, but I feel like there is still a path. I'm not ready to put down money yet on that category.
Are you predicting Ozark for series?
No.
Okay.
Well, I think Lenny's got a shot.
Oh, I have her winning.
Me too.
Yes. So tomorrow they will also be presenting the 4 Juried Awards that we found out the winners for before any of these creative arts ceremonies. So I wonder if they were notified. I assume they were notified that they actually won the award since those categories don't do nominees. So I wonder if those speeches will be even more sincere than everybody has been so good at being sincere with these speeches that we've gotten so far anyway.
I think they put out a press release.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I'm thrilled for Mandy Moore because I think her choreography in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is terrific.
We've also got 4 music awards tomorrow. We've got stunt coordination for a comedy, where I'm predicting the final season of Ballers, but given how things have been going, it'll probably just be Brooklyn Nine-Nine again for the first time in 5 years. And we've also got the voiceover category tomorrow, which is one of our prediction center categories. So let's just check in and see who everybody is predicting for that. Tom.
I am really torn on this one. Come back to me.
Okay.
And
Joyce?
I have Taika.
Yeah. Any reason for that?
Just because of he's Taika, and the Mandalorian and What We Do in the Shadows love. So after tonight, I'm feeling pretty good about it, even though it's not the same people voting in that category. But I could see maybe like Maya Rudolph winning, or even like Leslie Odom Jr. But yeah, I have Taika. Not that I can change it now anyway. So.
And I have Maya Rudolph.
Oh, excellent.
So, yeah.
Yes.
And
explain
lots
yourself.
of goodwill for her this year. Lots of goodwill for her this year. Big Mouth, I believe, is nominated for animated series. So I don't know. I just feel like there's, like I said, 3 nominations. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I wanted to like pick her in somewhere. I didn't pick her to win any of hers. Because I was like, was she like actually win for SNL? I don't know. Even though like the Good Place has never won anything, so I just ended up with keeping Wanda Sykes.
And it's funny. I saw her SNL thing again with as Kamala, and God, that's funny. But it's so short.
She'll win next year. It's fine.
Yeah, she'll be back. I hope.
It'll be her and Jim Carrey.
Yes, it's announced. Yeah, Big Mouth could have a big day tomorrow, since it is also up for an interactive Emmy against Doctor Who. That might actually be one of the awards where they can both win. I'm not banking on Big Mouth at this time, so I'll show you the board here.
Oh.
So here we've got, let's see, where is it? Here's Doctor Who, printed out just in case it wins that award. We've also got Forky Asked a Question for the short form category. Maybe Quibi will be able to move up from 0. And maybe I'll actually have to cross off Better Call Saul if they win that short form award. Technically, it is not an award for Better Call Saul, which is how we're able to keep making these jokes about it. But for me, I consider anything part of the franchise as a win for
it's
that
so nice
title.
of you, because it'll be 0 for 39 after this year, and it makes me very sad.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, does anyone have any final thoughts before you check out and we don't see you again until Sunday?
I'm excited for the music categories because I love those. And I'm still upset that L to the OG was not submitted.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for the music categories too. I'm excited to see if Euphoria does very well here because the music branch really loved that show.
Yeah.
Would love to see that.
We do have Euphoria on the board here. Let's see. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Here it
Right
is.
above Ozark. So I am expecting Labyrinth to win the song category.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me too.
Me
I
too.
think I have it for that and music supervision.
Me too, Joyce.
We're just going all in on Euphoria. Maybe I should just
We
put
are.
You don't have Watchmen for music supervision?
Oh, maybe I do. I don't know. I think I switched something on Monday.
Hmm.
I don't know. Because I was like definitely like vacillating between the two of them. I might have Watchmen. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. But I definitely have Euphoria for song.
Excellent. So I will be back tomorrow in a new outfit. Tom, you will not be, so please close us out here.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Watch the Creative Arts Emmys tomorrow, and Riley is going to have a new outfit, so that's perfect.